Exciting news! You can now purchase my book, Rational Answers to Stupid Questions, simply by clicking the top link in the description. The book is available exclusively on BookBaby, who has been my partner in creating my book. Enjoy the video.
But at this point, I have more confidence than I've ever had, including the Big Bang. The Bible, you talked about the Big Bang has predictions. The predictions that were made were absolutely destroyed by the evidence. You made a prediction to
No, the
find
CMB
galaxies
was
forming.
exactly what we thought it would be.
No, it's not, Eric.
Yes, it is.
It's not exact. Then why do we have the inflation problem?
What inflation
Why do we have to
problem?
invoke? If the CMBR is exactly what, I'll let you do your research here, or I can teach you. The
But it
CMBR
was.
is not what they expected. No,
Yes,
it's
it is.
not.
It was
That's-
predicted in
Okay,
the 40s,
then
and it was
Google-
discovered in
Google with your phone.
1964 or 1965.
Right. You said it's exactly what they thought it would be. It's not.
Yeah,
Google with your phone
it
the inflation
is.
problem.
They
Do you want me to
predicted
explain
that
it to
the
you?
background temperature would be, it's like 3.5 degrees Kelvin or something like that. And that's what it was. The variations in
issue?
temperature vary by like a micro Kelvin, which is like 1/10,000th of a degree.
Great. So it got the temperature right. Did it get the structure right?
Yes.
No, it didn't.
It's the most
Look up-
perfect black body curve
Okay.
that we've ever observed. Homogeneous
Let's
distribution
do
of
this
matter.
together. Why is there the need for inflation in the Big Bang model? Why do we need this? Many physicists also believe that inflation explains why the universe appears to be the same in all directions, which is called isotropic, why the cosmic microwave background radiation is distributed evenly. The universe, the CMBR shouldn't have been distributed evenly. If you have an explosion, you have an epicenter, you have more energy, more debris at the closer part of it. If a car explodes, go ahead.
You're
fix it.
comparing the
Go
actual
ahead.
universe to an actual explosion.
Okay. You don't think that all of space and time came from a single point?
I don't know if it was a single point, but the universe didn't used to be smaller and then got bigger. That just doesn't make a lot of sense with what we know about the universe. The universe has, in all of our ability to measure it, down to like whatever it is, 10, 12, 14 decimal points, the universe has complete, like totally flat curvature, meaning it extends probably for infinity. And physicists really disagree about whether or not you can have like an actual singularity. But like this description of the universe says like, I could theoretically from the outside look at the universe and see that, wow, it's all right there. When in reality, it's much weirder than that.
Right, but you said that the CMBR perfectly fit with the prediction, and I was going to get into the galaxy formation, which we do need to get into. It doesn't. The temperature agreed with it, but that it was isotropic didn't agree with it because they expected there to be a hot spot, hot spots. There's something that resembled a rapid expansion. As far as we can see, the CMBR is isotropic. So the reason that they created the belief of inflation, which isn't proven, and you can't prove, I mentioned earlier, this all started with saying, we can't see it in the past, so why are we talking about it? The idea of inflation is that rapid expansion, faster than the speed of light, for the first, whatever, I don't know how they exactly did this math, Nixie would probably know, a half of a second, it rapidly expanded, then
It's way less than
stopped.
half a second, yeah.
Whatever, who cares? So whatever it's LARPing in it, whatever it is, the amount of time that it is, 1 nanosecond.
It's like 10 to the negative 34th seconds.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That happened because the actual distribution of the radiation in the CMBR doesn't match the prediction. So when you said it matched, I just called you out and said it doesn't match it. A part of it does, which you agree with, and a part of it doesn't, which they made something up to explain, Eric. Called inflation. This is fact.
Right.
I think you know better than maybe.
Inflation would explain the uniform distribution of matter. Now, I don't know the history about when they came up with inflation. I know that the calculation of what the background temperature should be was done in the 40s, but I don't remember anybody saying, well, when we find the CMB, there should be big chunks of voids and then big blobs of stuff. I don't know anybody who has ever said that. I need a source for that because I've never heard that
Okay,
before.
this is the Stephen Hawking's Center for Theoretical Cosmology. It's the first one I just pulled up. According to the theory of inflation, the early universe expanded exponentially fast for a fraction of a second after the Big Bang.
Yep.
Cosmologists introduced this idea in 1981 to solve several important problems in cosmology. One of these problems is the horizon problem. Assume for a moment the universe is not expanding. Now imagine a photon was released, the very early universe has traveled freely until it hit the North Pole of the Earth. Now imagine another photon was released at the same time, but opposite to the first one. It will hit the Earth at the South Pole. Could these two photons exchange any information from the time they are released? Clearly not, because the time required to send information from one photon to the other would be 2 times the age of the universe. The photons are causally connected. This actually gets into non-locally real, which I think we should talk about in a minute. They are outside of each other's horizon. However, we observe the photons from the opposite directions must have communicated somehow, because the CMBR radiation has almost exact same temperature in all directions over the sky. This problem can't be solved by the idea that the universe expanded This problem can be solved by the idea that the universe expanded exponentially for a short time period after the Big Bang. Before this period of inflation, the entire universe could have been in casual contact with equilibrium to form a common temperature. Widely separated regions today were actually very close together in the early universe, explaining why photons from these regions have almost exactly the same temperature. So they explain it's a belief system, and it's based on, we believe in the Big Bang, and the CMBR doesn't match the data. Now, it does in temperature, but the isotropy of it does not match.
Okay, so I did a quick Google of cosmic inflation. Cosmic inflation was first proposed by Alan Guth in the 80s, right?
Yep.
The CMB was discovered in 1964 or 1965 or something like that.
Right.
Before we had a CMB map, I can't find anybody who said it should look like this or it should look like that.
I wouldn't use that as any metric for whether it's true or not. It's a major problem. The isotropy of the CMBR is a major problem. And that's one problem. It also orients in at least one orientation, but maybe two, like dipole, the monopole. There's also a weird orientation, which is what they call the axis of evil. And I would look into the axis of evil, and I would look into the isotropic problem of the CMBR, because it's a problem that they need a rescuing device, which is inflation. And the reason I brought it up is you said the CMBR matched the prediction. So if we could spend the next 20 minutes looking, did they predict this? And yes, they would have predicted a non-isotropic CMBR. Eric,
sure.
yes.
But does that prove that the universe doesn't expand?
No, the universe does expand, exactly like the Bible says.
Exactly like the Big Bang says.
Right. The universe is expanding.
Okay, well, this isn't a problem for the Big Bang then. Like
the problem for the
you're
Big Bang
acting
is
like
the data.
Learning new things about a model just disproves the model. Now it can, but in this case, we have no issue.
Okay, so this again started with not being able to repeat history. Why do we believe the thing that it's not repeatable? I mentioned the Big Bang and the problems with the Big Bang. They predicted that they would find forming galaxies, forming black holes, an anisotropic CMBR, and they expected the expansion rate to continue at the same speed or maybe be slowing down. They didn't expect it to be expanding as fast as it is, and they also predicted a certain kind of galaxy shape that doesn't match what they ended up finding. So they made a bunch of predictions, and it was a good theory for a while, and it was proven wrong by the predictions. And we are in the very awkward process.
But it's not. Nothing about those
accepting
observations doesn't say that the universe
everything about every one
didn't
of those
expand
does.
from an initial state of incredible density.
Okay, so if you want a new model of universe expansion, then fine. But the existing model of 13.8 billion years ago, the universe came from a single hot dense spot, and it flew out, and then it was hydrogen and helium, and then that coalesced, and then we had nucleosynthesis, and then we had galaxy formation. Yep. That's all out. All we see currently is a fully formed universe.
No, so yes. I don't agree for a couple of reasons. One of them being, we may discover something new in science that can describe that. But like, for example, Newton's laws of gravity could not they could explain everything we see on Earth, the way a cannonball flies, as long as you account for like friction with the air. It could describe it perfectly. It allowed Edmund Halley to predict when it wasn't called that back then, but when a certain comet would come back decades later. He was already dead, but it appeared exactly in the sky where he said it would, which is why we call it Halley's Comet, because that scientific model was extremely good. Then we ran into a problem. It couldn't describe Mercury's orbit. It couldn't. It just was incapable of doing it. General relativity did. Now, it would be weird. You would think it's very weird to argue that general relativity was just invented to rescue Isaac Newton's theory, which he came up with in the year 1666, which proves he was a Freemason and a Satan worshiper. All this dumb stuff that flat earthers say, right?
Was that Einstein? Did they say that about Einstein?
No, they say that about Newton because he came up with gravity, and we don't know if it was
Newton
1666 or
God-fearing
1667.
Christian. Flat earthers have almost everything exactly wrong.
Yes,
Newton
I know.
Loved God of the Bible and was a Christian.
But nothing about the fact that Mercury's orbit was very weird or was inexplicable by Newtonian mechanics didn't disprove Newtonian mechanics. Now, really, general relativity has basically superseded Newtonian mechanics. General relativity is really the better explanation for why anything does what it does. But those Newtonian mechanics still work perfect for ordinary things going at ordinary speeds inside of ordinary gravity wells or whatever. But anyways, so I just wanted to make that point because I think it's a good historical example.
That is exactly Neil deGrasse Tyson's response to this Big Bang information. That's hilarious. It's exactly word for word what he says. Yeah. So you guys were like,
yeah, but
do
I mean,
you guys get like an email
that's kind of
how
the
to respond
point.
to this?
We haven't. This stuff about the galaxy formation doesn't disprove what we already know about our Big Bang model. Now you can say, yes, it does, because it doesn't explain this. Newtonian mechanics didn't explain Mercury either. That doesn't mean the other stuff is false, and that doesn't mean that the Big Bang is false. But even if that's the case, your alternative explanation is God created a fully mature universe that is billions of light years across, even though the laws of physics tell us that that can't be. So why should I believe the alternative?
Okay. So the question there is, why should I believe that this evidence points to the God of the Bible? Correct? And we got
the Big Bang model has been extremely successful in a lot of things, and there's some other things we're continuing to learn, but we don't live at the end of history. We live in the middle of it. So much like we fixed Mercury's orbit with better science, I think that we'll find scientific answers for these things. But even in the meantime, why should I think otherwise?
Okay.
Why should I think a universe that's billions of light years across is 6,000 years old when science tells us that's impossible?
Well, that's not at all impossible. So if that's a
science
separate
tells
thing,
us
so
it is.
Yeah, I know, and you know how I feel about that. Wanted to give Red Alert Official maybe the best ad hom attack I've seen. VOR is a demon sent by Jesus to eat babies. I've never heard that one. So there you go. That's attacking my science.
That's pretty funny.
So the universe size. You understand that it's actually not a time component. It's a distant component. One side of the universe to the other is distant, not time. Obviously, in Einstein's synchrony convention, it is
speed of
the light, yeah. Right? Which we can go that direction, but I know it's going to unfurl into a much bigger discussion because it's the stalemate Blitz and I ended on the other day.
If it's going to be the simulation thing, then I can't have a conversation about that because it's not going to make any sense to me. I didn't like your Minecraft example about the sun, though. I thought that was a bad... I think you need to come up with a better metaphor, because when you say that, the sun is... Minecraft is two-dimensional. So the sun actually in Minecraft actually isn't far away from you. The entire program is two-dimensional. So the sun doesn't... It can appear far away, but it's actually instantaneous. But it isn't in actuality far away.
Right.
Whereas we know that there actually are galaxies billions of light years away
Not
whose
really.
light
We don't.
can't.
No,
So
we don't know
you
that
just
anymore.
deny that?
That's why it was a no. No, I know science. People are gonna love that. I should put a picture of my face saying I know science. So it was a great example, and Blitz didn't get it, and that's okay. I maybe didn't make the connection. The universe not being locally real means that we say it's 2-dimension, we say it's 3-dimension. The people don't realize this because it doesn't fit the scientific narrative right now. Anton Aspect and Alan Zeilinger proved in 2022, November 2022, quantum entanglement. The thing that Einstein hated. Why did Einstein hate it? Because it flew in the face of his dumb shit theory. Sorry, people aren't going to like that. I take that back. They flew in the face of his theory. He didn't like the universe being governed by quantum entanglement being a fundamental property of this universe because it contradicted Einsteinian physics, space-time. That's why he called it
I don't think
spooky
it
action at a
contradicts
distance.
it at all.
Yes, it does. Oh boy, we're so far down the road already. Okay, Einstein was a rabid materialist. We are living in a material world because Einstein was a material girl. Einstein was fighting Niels Bohr, and Niels Bohr said, look, quantum mechanics are a thing. Observer effect, quantum entanglement. Einstein said, no, it is not a thing. I don't believe this. I'm an atheist who thinks that God is ridiculous and the Bible is ridiculous. I'm a materialist.
Quantum
Everything
entanglement does not get you to God.
Yes, it does. It certainly does better than materialism. It certainly does. Vote in favor of the God of the Bible. Certainly. Anyways, as it relates to the sun situation, we want to believe that the sun is at a certain distance, and that is a true thing. We live in a universe that is not locally real. Either the sun, people don't realize this, and people can be as mad as they want to at me for communicating the actual science. Either the sun isn't real, or the sun isn't local, or the sun isn't locally real. Science has proven this. And if you want to believe in the theory of evolution and disbelieve in non-locality, that is a fool's errand. You're using your bias and discounting actual science. Everything I just said is factually accurate. Go ahead. Look it up as all you want to. I can teach you about this.
You're telling me that I
Einstein-hated
can't
quantum
believe
entanglement.
that evolution is real and believe that the universe is non-locally
No,
real?
I'm telling you that if you want to
I'm
choose to
pretty
believe
sure you
in
did
Darwinian
say that.
evolution. Okay, listen. What I said, if you want to believe in Darwinian evolution, but disbelieve that the universe isn't locally real, if you want to disbelieve the discovery of quantum entangled particles, the proving of Bell's inequality, you are being intellectually dishonest.
I don't think that the Bell's inequality experiments yielded false results. I think perhaps different schools of thought within quantum mechanics say that the ramifications for it might be slightly different, but I don't know how to even make an argument for that. So I
Eric,
don't doubt that their experiment yielded the results that they predicted it would result in.
And what was the result? What is the result, and what does it mean?
I really don't know what
I know
not being
you don't know
locally
because
real
it doesn't
means.
fit. I know because you are a science communicator adherent to the laws of materialism. You are biased just like I am, and you believe that matter is fundamental. You are a materialist. You don't know what this means because it wasn't a great discovery proving Darwin right. It was a discovery proving Einstein wrong. And people don't know this, but fundamentally, we live in Einstein's universe where he hated quantum entanglement. Everybody in this room needs to look at the ramifications of the universe not being locally real. Quantum entangled particles communicate instantaneously, irrespective of distance. It would be like me sending an email 1,000,000 or 1,000,000,000 light years away that got there instantaneously, or they're not real, meaning the qualities, the attributes of what we believe photons to be isn't a product of reality. They are either not a product of reality or they are not local, or both. And when I said the Minecraft thing, the reason you didn't understand it or agree is because you haven't grasped yet, and the people in the scientific community are not rushing out to say the Big Bang is dead and the universe is not locally real because it looks really bad. Well, it just so happens that it looks really good for my argument, which is why it's interesting that I'm doing this at this time. But no, the universe not being locally real, it cannot be written off. It was written off for 100 years, Eric. Einstein said, no, it's spooky action at a distance. He did the EPR paper, the Einstein, Podolsky, and Rosen paper, which was a total hack job. They stifled this and sat on it. John Bell came up with it in the 1960s, the Bell inequality theorem. It was still squashed for 60 more years. And then this year, last year, November of 22, actually, so whatever, 18 months ago, it was proven that the quantum entangled particles are existing in a way that is either not real or not local. And they're actually, like, people are like, oh, I don't want to believe that. I want to believe in Einstein and Darwin. Fine. The scientist, Anton Zeilinger, is actually figuring out quantum teleportation through quantum entanglement. The new quantum computers are going to be based on this science. It's an intrinsic property of this reality. It is either not real or not local or both, which exactly fits the simulation idea. Because in a simulation, nothing is real, it's all product of information, and distance is an illusion. In Minecraft, the distance between you and the sun is an illusion based on information, which supports this idea.
Okay.
So
from what I know, I think that part is totally wrong. Because nobody's saying that the distances aren't real. The non-locality aspect of it is that a particle can only be influenced by local forces. But the entanglement allows you to manipulate a particle here, and then at vast distances away, theoretically even light years away, although we've never done it like light years away, obviously, instantly changes. That's the non-local part of it. But it's not saying that the distance doesn't exist. It's saying that like the Einstein's sort of thing about like the speed of light is sort of like the speed of causality in a way, like you can't communicate faster than light or whatever. But this spooky action at a distance thing, the entanglement, theoretically allows you to do that. If you could create two computers that are perfectly entangled, I type A on one computer, A pops up on the computer instantaneously. Although, is that really what that means? Could you actually do that? I've asked people and they say, well, no, you probably couldn't actually do that or whatever. But this thing about like the distances not being real, I don't think that's part of it at all.
So the distance not being real, it goes like this. If the particles are actually real, meaning they're not determined by the user, the observer doesn't affect them. They exist whether we watch them or not. They're in a certain state that doesn't change. They are fundamentally real. You reduce it to the smallest thing, the smallest particle, and that is a real thing. Irrespective of our conscious, irrespective of potentiality, it's real. So if they are real by definition, meaning they comport with physics as we understand them, then they have to be non-local because they're communicating instantaneously at 9 billion light years. If I send an email to you and you're a billion light years away, it would take a billion years for me to get that to you. If I send you an email and you're a billion, yeah, right. But if it's a billion light years away and I send you the email and you get it instantaneously, either that wasn't a real thing. What are we in a simulation? How did this happen? I don't know. Or the distance between us is an illusion. You're actually right next to me, and what I perceive as this distance isn't the problem. It's actually instantaneous. So it did get to me at light speed, but instantaneously, because there's actually no distance between us. So this is why it's either not real, which if it's not real, it can be.
We have stuff on Mars that we currently communicate with, and we know that those communications don't happen instantaneously.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
This doesn't work whole cloth for the universe. Like this happens to be true for quantumly entangled particles, but not the universe.
Right, but if you were to create a quantum entangled radio to Mars, you would be able to speak with it instantaneously, which is actually what quantum teleportation is that they're trying to work on. So, but you made a really good point. Yeah. That's quantum teleportation is the idea of encoding information on one half of a quantum entangled particle, that information is instantaneously transferred to the other in real time, irrespective of distance. So you can actually encrypt things in it, because the only way I can have the other bit of information on the other half is if I have this side of it, that's the entangled particle. So that's exciting science. You guys can look at that all you want to, but you make a very good point there. If we're speaking to the moon and it takes 2.5 seconds to get to it, and that's a radio signal, right? Radio waves, which is also electromagnetic. If you are on Mars and I can prove that you're speaking to me on Mars and it's taking 4 minutes or whatever, that's a very good bit of information in favor of local realism, because that's how we would expect things to go. But because we don't know particularly how the universe goes, especially outside of our solar system, we want to predict that the universe the information is traveling at light speed, and that information is 13 billion years old. Is it? Maybe. It doesn't say one way or another in the Bible. It does say it was built fully formed, and at this point, we don't particularly know. So what I would agree with you
It doesn't
is
say
that
it was
yes,
fully formed. It says
that
the
does.
earth was voidless and without form.
The
Or it
earth
was
was
void
of
and without form.
okay. The heavens and the earth. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and void, but it
Yeah.
was still a planet. And then immediately within 2 days, the water comes out of it, and within a week, it's an entire earth. So, a good point. I see what you're saying. But the heavens and the moon and the sun were created on day 4 instantaneously. There was no cosmic formation. There wasn't accretion and collapsing and nucleosynthesis, these kind of things. They were built fully formed. So,
Well, it doesn't, but it doesn't say they were fully formed. It just says they were created.
the heavens and the earth, the heavens, the Bereshit, let's see, Bereshit bara Elohim, Hashemayim. Hashemayim is the stars, it's the entirety of it. So the assumption there in Hebrew is that there were stars. There wasn't dust or hydrogen and helium.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so it doesn't. The Big Bang isn't supported by Christians. Want to reconcile these two, whatever. But basically, you have a fully formed universe, which is I'm a simulation guy. In Minecraft, it's a fully formed universe. I think mankind has amnesia. 5,000 years ago, civilization began. Before that, we don't know. We look at rocks, we look through glass into the stars, we try to say, this is this old, this happened. It's all assumptions, like you said earlier. It's non-repeatable, it's history. We don't know. We all choose a worldview based on one thing or another. Now, the Bible says fully formed. The evidence is showing fully formed. The Bible says we descend from one man and one woman. We descend from one man and one woman. The Bible consistently... Yes... that could be a next direction that we go in with this conversation. But I want to make one thing.
It's been an hour and 22 minutes so far.
I know. So, okay, if this is the last thing I say here, we don't know when and how we got here. We don't know how the universe formed. We don't know how the earth formed. I'm not advocating that you teach biblical Christianity in school. I know you do. I'm not advocating that you teach biblical Christianity or the book of Genesis in school. I think we should separate church and religion. I think the theory of evolution and cosmic evolution is a creation myth. It is a belief system. What we need to do is teach people how science works. This is observable, repeatable, testable. This is the laws of physics. This is how engineering works. This is how mathematics works. This is how these things happen. Teach them how things work. Don't teach them we know how it happened, because then you're conflating science and belief.
What should we do with questions that we don't have answers for yet?
Say we don't know, Eric.
Okay, but
I know that is looking for science when they need a whole bunch of money.
Should we come up with yeah, but should we come up with hypotheses for them?
Yeah, I think so, absolutely.
Okay, well there you go. Cosmic inflation. That's a hypothesis.
Right. And so
abiogenesis, that's a hypothesis.
Right. Great. And
there's nothing wrong with any of that then in the context of talking about it in a science class.
I don't disagree that you can teach these things, but it needs to be in we don't know how we got here. Here is either our best model or here's a belief system. Here's the data you choose. Not this is how it happened. And like you and other people will say, no, that's not what they teach. Yes, it is. I went through the education system. We can look on Google right now. We can listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson and Bill Nye and Michio Kaku and Jeff Green.
Those guys aren't the educational system.
They influence largely what
VOR.
People.
Do you know how many people I've heard tell me that their biology teacher didn't believe in evolution? I've had so many people tell me that story. I've never once heard anybody say, my biology teacher just constantly talked about how God doesn't exist and the Bible is false. Even if they believe that, which I do, I don't talk about that. Now, are there 10 people out there that do that? Yeah, probably there are. But it's so it's the problem goes in the opposite direction.
It doesn't. Eric, will you do me a favor? Will you share your other background of your book?
Okay.
This isn't an education thing. This isn't me talking about...
Available now on BookBaby.
I actually wanted to help you sell your book. Everybody buy Eric's book, seriously. Content creators, we have it tough. Nobody's making any money on this unless people support us. Buy Eric's book. Subscribe to Eric. He's a good dude.
Buy a Spanky and a t-shirt too. I have hundreds of dollars in t-shirts that haven't sold.
I got to teach you about on-demand printing. Okay, so Let's see here. Quit rational. Let's see. Rational answers stupid questions. Debunking flat Earth, which flat Earth is ridiculous. Anybody who believes in flat Earth needs to absolutely forfeit that idea. It's destructive to biblical creation. Entirely incorrect. Absolutely hate it. Sorry. Evolution deniers. That's me. Creationists. That's me. The idea is, if you deny Darwin, if you deny the Big Bang, you're stupid. You're a scientific guy. You're an intelligent guy. The idea is the consensus that true intellects, truly intelligent people, if they understand that the universe created itself and built the earth, and the earth created life somehow, and we all evolved from, we're animals, then you're smart. This is a problem. It's a belief system. And if there was more intellectual integrity, it would say, I believe this. I think there's evidence in favor of it. Really, it's people want to believe it because they have a religious trauma, or they like hate God of the Bible, or they want to do things that they don't want God to watch them, or they hate the idea of hell, or somebody did something. It's not actually science. The science isn't compelling people away from believing in creation. And it is not more logical to believe that the universe created itself than something with agency and resources created the universe.
I don't think the universe created itself.
Oh, I'd like to hear what you believe then. What do you think happened?
I don't actually have a belief about how the universe came to be, to exist. But like a counterpoint that I would make would be something along the lines of, if God can be uncreated, then a universe can be uncreated. Maybe the question itself is invalid. I don't believe in that, but nobody can tell me that it can't be true.
Right. But in Minecraft, if we go, well, we're here in this Minecraft created game, but who created the programmer? Therefore, it's not created. That'd be a silly deduction to make. The reality is he exists in another plane of existence with different rules and pre-existed the creation of this universe. That's all we particularly know. But to go, no, that couldn't have happened. It's illogical. It's the universe existing forever doesn't make sense. The universe creating itself or happening by some chance doesn't make sense. Something outside of the universe being able to create a universe, it makes more sense. Like, that doesn't mean you have to believe in the God of the Bible.
I don't think it does. I don't think anything existing forever makes any sense. Or like,
you don't think the universe existed forever? You're not one of those guys that thinks it's always been here?
It would be, so what we would say is, let me say this a different way. Because there are things called like past eternal models of the universe. Maybe when the universe, so like, for example, inside of a black hole, there's no time. Like there really isn't any space time. I don't know anybody that doesn't think black holes don't exist except flat earthers, right? Well, no. Could a universe exist in a state like that, where a universe exists, but there's no flow of time? And then the universe evolved from that state into a Big Bang state. I don't see why that's impossible, right?
It's not impossible, but
even though I don't get it, I don't think there's a logical like contradiction or anything in there. But when people say God is spaceless, timeless, immaterial, that makes no sense. It can't make any sense. I mean, you guys admit that it really doesn't make any sense because it falls to like, well, God is beyond like our comprehension or whatever. So when people say stuff like that, I have no reason to believe what you're saying or talking about.
So I agree. We have a finite three-dimensional space of a mind, and so we can't necessarily know God and what. I understand that. It might be stupid for me to say I understand it, but the idea that we have laws here, we could call it space-time. We have a fabric that space-time is on. We have equal and opposite reaction, no such thing as creation of energy, entropy increases. We have these kind of laws that govern this reality, gravity, whatever those laws are. Great. If there's a place that pre-existed this universe, it can be that place has either no laws or different laws. I actually got this from a totally secular theoretical physicist who was pushing the idea of the simulation many years ago. He's since passed. He called the place that the simulation the simulation would be in, he called it other. So if we're in a simulation, the computer that holds the simulation isn't in the universe. This is his thought experiment, which makes sense. The universe exists inside of the computer, which means that the computer would exist outside of this universe. Wherever that place is, he called other. He wasn't a believer in the God of the Bible. He said that place can have no rules, including time. It can be that there is no time, or there was always time, or whatever, a different rule set. So in that case, where there was a place that didn't have rules, and that's where our universe comes from, whether you believe it's God or not. I would take that place and say God acting. That makes more sense, and it's not that different. It's pretty much what you were just saying. It's the idea that there was a place without time that time came from. That's logical. It's what I believe, that wherever God is, he said, I was, I am, I will be. He always existed. We can't understand that here because we live in a universe that had a beginning. But it makes sense to me that it came from that place, and it came fully formed. And because of the laws of entropy, it's become more disordered over time. Yes, we see suns exploding. We see planets colliding. Yes, we see genetic information mutating. Yes, we started off with a good reality that has been entropically degrading over time. This is what I believe we keep seeing scientifically and what comports with logic, in my opinion. And if you want to see other things where random reversals of entropy, there's a fun rabbit hole to go down. The random reversal of entropy that created this universe. That is by all definitions a miracle. So it's like, cool, you want to believe the universe created itself?
But we don't know it was random. We
miracles.
don't know if it reversed entropy or anything like that.
We know the entropy was reversed.
What?
We know that. We know entropy was reversed.
In order for what to happen?
For us to go from a less ordered state to a more ordered state. That's the definition of entropy reversal.
Are you talking about evolution?
We're talking about cosmology at this point. I'm talking about the very universe having a semblance of order. There's more order in the universe now than there was at one point. I mean, this is like scientifically, philosophic. Reality, science.
What?
Look it up. Look at the random.
No. What? The universe is expanding and losing usable energy. That's the
So you don't think there was an
entropy
reversal?
isn't decreasing.
No, entropy isn't currently. No, there was, if you believe in the universe coming from nothing or whatever the Big Bang thing would be, you believe in a reversal of entropy because there was a more disordered state that gave rise to a more ordered state.
What was the more disordered state? I don't know what's going on.
Okay, if you have nothing, and then you have everything, you have
I don't
creation of
believe
matter,
that.
the creation. How about the laws of physics? You had no laws of physics at one point, and now you have the laws of physics. To me, that's a ridiculous point to argue that
That's what
this
you think a
isn't-
reversal of entropy is? First of all, I don't even believe in that. But second of all, I don't even know what you're talking about. And then how would that be a reversal of entropy?
Maybe we should refer to. I usually can communicate these things better than I'm communicating it now, but let's look at the reversal of entropy in the Big Bang. Let's see here.
I have no idea what you're talking about when you say this. If the universe is expanding and losing usable energy and moving inexorably towards heat death, then there's no reversal of entropy anywhere. And nobody says that that there was a pre-chaotic universe that became very ordered and then started going disordered. Nobody says that, or at least I've never heard anybody say that.
Okay, maybe we're lost in the weeds here. The event that caused all of the energy to have happened, you would not describe that as a reversal of entropy. That we had a more disordered state that became quickly ordered, or an input of energy. None of this, you wouldn't consider that a reversal of entropy? Because I would have to find my source on this.
I don't believe in whatever you're talking about.
Okay.
And I've never heard anybody say that there's some chaotic pre-universe that becomes suddenly very ordered and then suddenly becomes disordered. I have no idea what that means.
Okay. Well, I need to better research my ability to explain it. It makes sense to me that we had an entirely disordered state, whatever this would have been, and then there was a quick introduction of something that reversed that entropy, including we get structures of galaxies, and we get magnetic fields, and we get nucleosynthesis. We get all of these things higher ordered than nothing. Nothing would be no order, and then we have more order.
I don't believe in nothing.
What was there then?
I have no idea. I said
Okay,
I
so
don't have a belief about it.
what science is doing is they're going to a cyclical cosmology.
No,
And
they're
what they're
not.
saying, oh yeah, they are. Largely,
No,
yeah.
they're not.
Okay. This will have to be the next level of this thing. Science is trying to figure out a new model because the Big Bang, whatever. I know you're still married to it. Sometimes it takes a while to get out of a toxic relationship. So I'll
For the
see you
same
on the other
reason I
side.
still believe in classical mechanics, yes. Even though we now have general relativity and quantum mechanics, F equals ma is still true.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Beginning of the. See if I can ask it
And
this way. I'll have to find my.
Hubble's constant is still true, even if cosmic inflation happened, or even if it didn't happen.